Alright, that Apple ad. Let's jump straight to it. I've had a few people reach out to me and say, hey, you used to work there, what do you think of this? And a lot of people reach out and go, you like Apple, now look what they've done. Ha! Kind of like shove it in my face. It's incredibly funny how polarizing this Apple ad's been. If you haven't seen it, here's a brief clip of it. It's all of the cool creative stuff, and like many people, I cringed when I saw those beautiful old cameras, the arcade machine, the books all getting crushed. They did misfire in this, straight up. That's what I feel like. Apple completely misfired here. There's a lot of people leaping out there and saying that Apple don't believe in creativity. They want to crush everything into a piece of glass. They don't have respect for creatives. And look, I get it. I get that the ad kind of says that, and they really did miss the mark with the production of it. And I'm sure there's lots of people to blame. But having been on the inside, having been in a role where this was a decade ago, okay? A lot of things could have changed, but I do know people who work at Apple, and I know there are people with principles who love creativity and who are creatives themselves, who would never willingly destroy stuff in that kind of way. I don't know anybody who would. Like a lot of people are saying online, it is a metaphor. The whole idea of being able to sort of compact everything into an iPad is a cool one. I think it's a great idea. They really misfired with the execution of things, the close-up, slow-mo shots of guitars being destroyed and, you know, the cameras being crushed and stuff. Look, particularly in this age where AI is overtaking people's jobs, people are really sensitive. I get it. There's a huge backlash to this, and it's very easy to jump on this hype train of saying Apple are evil and they have no respect for you. But honestly, as someone who's been on the inside at Apple and seen how they treat creatives with such reverence, I don't think it's the case. And I think they were trying to go for a sort of a fun, internet-y kind of let's crush stuff in a really Apple way and see what happens. And look, people do this online the entire time. I think when you're a creative working on this sort of thing, and look, there were a bunch of creatives involved. Someone shot this, someone directed it, someone came up with this. There were artists who actually put this together. I would argue that perhaps, you know, great art does polarize people. I think great art does make people argue and repost a lot and, you know, talk about it online like this. So in a way, Apple actually did create an art piece that is generating a lot of attention in the ad itself, and it has angered so many people. And yes, you know, I would have loved a vintage lens. I would have preferred the arcade cabinet didn't get crushed, that sort of stuff. But Apple are doing what they always do. They are creating polarizing stuff that people talk about through great art. And you look back at Apple's history of celebrating artists and celebrating creatives, the whole campaign they did, and I think continue to do, like that Made on a Mac stuff. It's beautiful. The ad with Oak Felder talking about his creative process in the studio is still one of my favorites. And I think they are genuinely a company that value creatives. And they've already kind of publicly apologized for this now. So is the backlash over the top? Absolutely. Did they screw up? Absolutely. They really misfired on this. I would have loved to have seen this concept maybe with, like, you know, things being squeezed down so they got tiny and shoved into the screen of the iPad. I don't know. I don't know who did what with this, and I'm sure that there was a creative who pitched this to Apple, and they went ahead because I don't know who directed this. I probably should have looked it up. I'll put it on screen or something. I probably should have looked it up before I shot this, but because I had so many people reach out and went at me, and a few people reach out and say, hey Nick, what do you think of this? And genuinely thank you, the likes of the people who did that and didn't get all angry at me just because I like Apple products. I love my vintage cameras too. I sit there with them here. And I've also actually got, I didn't even realize that, I've got my 5 years at Apple certificate right there as well. I love all my analog stuff. I love analog instruments. I also love Apple devices. Being 10 years out of the company now, I've got a little bit more perspective. I do actually have an Android phone in a drawer that I don't use because I tried it and just didn't gel with it. I do have a Surface sitting somewhere that, again, I haven't touched. And, you know, that Surface sits in a drawer because I don't like Windows. I'm going into a job quite regularly at the moment where I have to use Windows, and I hate it. I know how to use it. I'm quite comfortable using Windows, but it doesn't click with me. It's got ads in it. Windows actually has ads built into the OS. It sucks. Anyway, look, people know my feelings. People know that I'm probably going to be biased and slightly pro-Apple. I've always been an Apple fan, and I've always liked their stuff because it works for me. But I think as a company, they really do value creatives. Yeah, so there you go. That's my thoughts. I wanted to make a video and I wanted to talk about it a little bit because a few people have reached out and asked. And that's how I feel. Please don't be mean in the comments. sensitive type.